Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rumana. I'm a foundation student at the Hans Custom Barku. Today I'm here to talk on the topic of air. Okay, today I am here to talk on the topic of air. Hello,
Hi, how's it going?
hello Maya.
Hey, I'm doing great. What have you
Here
been
are
up to?
100
Wait, hear what?
here are 100 questions on the topic of air. Do let's start.
100 questions on air. You're on a roll with these. I'm ready when you are. What's the first one?
First one is what is air?
Basically, air is the invisible mixture of gases that surrounds our planet. It's what makes up our atmosphere and obviously what we need to breathe. What's next on the list?
What is air made?
It's mostly nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen takes up about 78%, oxygen is around 21%, and the rest is a tiny mix of other gases like argon and carbon dioxide. Ready for number 3?
Why is air important for life?
It's absolutely essential because almost every living thing needs oxygen to survive. Without air, we wouldn't have the oxygen for our cells to create energy, and plants wouldn't have the carbon dioxide they need to make food. Plus, the atmosphere protects us from the sun's harshest rays. Number 4?
Okay, can we see air?
Nope. Air is invisible. You can't see the gases themselves. It's like when it blows leaves around or makes a balloon expand. It's number 5.
Can we feel air?
You definitely can. Whenever you feel a breeze on your face or the wind blowing through your hair, that's just air in motion. You're feeling the movement of those gases against your skin. Number 6.
Can we feel air?
You feel it as pressure and movement, like when you stick your hand out a car window or feel a fan on a hot day. It's basically the air particles bumping into you. Ready for 7?
What is wind?
Wind is just air in motion. It happens when air moves from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. Think of it like a balloon. When you let go of the end, the air rushes out to where there's less pressure, creating a little gust of wind. Number 8.
What are the main gases in air?
The big 2 are nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen is the most abundant, followed closely by oxygen. There are a few others in there, but those are the heavy hitters. Ready for 9?
Okay, how much oxygen in the air?
About 21%. It's just enough to keep us going without being so much that things would catch fire way too easily. Ready for number 10?
Okay, how much nitrogen in the air?
That's the biggest chunk, about 78%. It's mostly there to keep the atmosphere stable. Ready for 11?
Okay, what is carbon dioxide?
Carbon dioxide is a colorless gas that's a big part of the cycle of life. We breathe it out as a waste product, but plants absolutely love it. They use it to make their own food through photosynthesis. It's also the gas that makes the bubbles in your soda. Ready for 12?
Okay, my next question, why do humans need oxygen?
Our bodies use oxygen to break down the food we eat and turn it into energy. Without it, our organs, especially our brain, would stop working almost immediately. It's basically the fuel for our cells. Number 13.
What is the atmosphere?
The atmosphere is basically the thick blanket of air and gases that wraps around the entire Earth. It's held in place by gravity, and it's what keeps us alive by providing oxygen and protecting us from the vacuum of space. Number 14.
How many layers does the atmosphere have?
It has 5 main layers. They each have different temperatures and properties, starting from where we live and going all the way up to the edge of space. Ready for 15?
Okay, what is the troposphere?
I'm not sure I caught that last part. Was that number 15? Try it again.
What is the troposphere?
Still not quite getting that word. Roposphere isn't ringing any bells for me. Do you think it might be like a specific scientific term, or maybe it's spelled differently?
Okay, my next question is what is the stratosphere?
I'm still stumped on that one. I've tried to wrap my head around Roposphere, but it's just not clicking. Do you want to skip it and go to number 16, or maybe try describing what it is?
Okay, what is ozone layer?
The ozone layer is a region of Earth's stratosphere that contains a high concentration of ozone molecules. Think of it like the planet's own sunscreen. It absorbs most of the sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation, which is super important because without it, things like skin cancer and eye damage would be way more common. Ready for 16?
How does air pressure work?
Think of air pressure as the weight of all the air above you pushing down. Because air has mass, gravity pulls it toward Earth. The more air there is above you, like when you're at sea level, the higher the pressure. As you go up a mountain, there's less air pressing down, so the pressure drops. That's why your ears pop on a plane. Ready for 17?
Okay, what causes wind?
It all comes down to temperature and pressure. When the sun heats up one part of the Earth more than another, the air there gets warmer and rises. This leaves a gap of lower pressure, and the cooler, heavier air from around it rushes in to fill that space. That rush of air is exactly what we feel as wind. 18.
Okay, my next question. What is a breeze?
A breeze is just a gentle, light wind. It's the kind of wind that feels refreshing on a hot day rather than the kind that knocks things over. Ready for 19?
Okay, what is a storm?
I think you might mean atmosphere, since we just talked about the blanket of gases surrounding it.
What is storm?
You were just... A storm is basically a disturbed state of the atmosphere. It happens when there's a big clash between warm, moist air and cool, dry air. That tension creates the wind, rain, and sometimes the thunder and lightning we see. Are you thinking of a specific kind, like a thunderstorm or a hurricane?
Okay, what is a hurricane?
A hurricane is basically a giant swirling storm system that forms over warm ocean waters. It's like a massive engine fueled by warm, moist air. As that air rises, it creates a low pressure center, and the Earth's rotation makes the whole thing spin. They bring some of the most intense winds and heaviest rains you can imagine. Ready for number 20?
Okay, what is tornado?
A tornado is like a hurricane's smaller, more concentrated cousin. It's a violently rotating column of air that extends from a thunderstorm down to the ground. While hurricanes are huge and form over the ocean, tornadoes are much smaller, form over land, and have way more intense wind speeds in a very tight area. Ready for 21?
And my next question, what is thunderstorm?
A thunderstorm is a storm that produces thunder and lightning. It happens when warm, moist air rises rapidly into the atmosphere, creating huge clouds called cumulonimbus. Inside those clouds, ice crystals and water droplets bump into each other, creating static electricity, which is where the lightning comes from. The thunder is just the sound of that lightning heating up the air so fast that it literally explodes. Ready for 22?
What is humidity?
I'm a bit lost on that one. Harmony law isn't a term I've come across in science or weather. Is it possible it's a nickname or maybe a term from a specific book you're using? Try describing it to me.
Okay, my next question. What is fog?
I'm a little confused by that one. What do you mean by work is full?
What
Are you
is
asking about
fog?
how air fills a In a general sense, full just means that a space is completely occupied and there's no more room for anything else. Since we're talking about air, are you asking about how a container gets full of air or maybe something about air pressure? Let me know if I'm on the right track.
Okay, my next question. What are clouds made of?
Clouds are actually made of millions of tiny water droplets or ice crystals. They form when water vapor in the air cools down and condenses around tiny particles like dust or smoke. When enough of those droplets gather together, you get a cloud. Ready for number 24?
Okay, what does rain form?
Rain forms when those tiny droplets in a cloud bump into each other and merge, getting bigger and heavier. Once they become too heavy for the air to hold them up, gravity takes over and they fall as rain. If it's cold enough up there, it might fall as snow instead. Ready for 25?
What is evaporation?
Evaporation is when liquid water turns into a gas, which we call water vapor. It happens when water gets enough energy, usually from the sun, to break away from the surface and float up into the air. It's a huge part of how the water cycle works. Ready for 26?
Okay, what does condensation? What is condensation?
I'm a little lost on that one. What do you mean by current game session? Are we shifting from science to gaming, or is this a question about how air works in a game?
Okay, why is
No
clean
worries.
air important?
Clean air is everything for our health. When air is polluted with smog or chemicals, it makes it way harder for our lungs to get oxygen into our blood, and it can lead to things like asthma or heart problems. Plus, clean air is the sign of a healthy environment for all the animals and plants, too. Ready for number 28?
Okay, what is air pollution?
Air pollution is basically when the air gets contaminated with things that shouldn't be there, like smoke, chemicals, or dust. It can come from car exhausts, factories, or even wildfires, and it makes the air unhealthy for us and the planet to breathe. Ready for 29?
Okay, my next question. What causes air pollution?
It's a mix of a few things, but mostly human activity. The biggest culprits are burning fossil fuels like gas in cars or coal and power plants, which release smoke and chemicals. Then you've got industrial factories, agricultural runoff, and even natural stuff like volcanic eruptions or dust storms. Basically, anything that puts a bunch of particles or gases into the air that aren't supposed to be there. Ready for 30? I'm ready. What's number 30 on the list?
Okay, how do vehicles pollute the air?
There are so many ways we do it, often without even thinking about it. The most common is through transportation, driving cars or flying planes that burn fuel. And you've got factories releasing smoke and chemicals, or even just burning trash and wood in our own backyards. Even using certain sprays or chemicals in farming can send pollutants into the air. Ready for 31?
Okay, how do factories pollute the air?
Factories usually pollute the air by burning huge amounts of fossil fuels to power their machinery, which sends thick smoke and chemicals up through those giant smokestacks. They also release specific pollutants like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides, which can create acid rain. Ready for 32? Ready
Okay.
whenever you've
Okay. My next question is, what is smoke?
Smoke is basically a collection of tiny airborne solid particles and gases. It's created when something burns incompletely. So you've got bits of unburnt fuel, ash, and chemicals all floating together in a cloud. That's why it's so irritating to breathe in. It's literally tiny pieces of burnt stuff. Ready for 33?
Okay. What are greenhouse gases?
Greenhouse gases are gases in our atmosphere that act like a giant thermal blanket for the planet. They let sunlight in, but they trap the heat that tries to bounce back into space, which keeps Earth warm enough for us to live. The problem is that when there are too many of them, like carbon dioxide and methane, the planet gets too warm, which is what causes global warming. Ready for 34?
Okay. What is global warming?
Global warming is the gradual increase in the average temperature of Earth's atmosphere and oceans. It's mostly caused by those greenhouse gases we just talked about, since we're pumping more of them into the air. The blanket gets thicker and traps too much heat. This leads to melting ice caps and weirder weather patterns all over the place. Ready for 35?
Okay. How does air affect climate?
Well, as an I don't have a car or a factory, but I do run on servers that require a lot of electricity. Depending on where that power comes from, the data centers that keep me running can have a carbon footprint. It's a bit of a trade-off. I can help people learn about the environment, but the tech behind me still uses energy. Ready for 36?
How do how do trees clean the air?
Trees are basically the planet's lungs. They take in carbon dioxide from the air during photosynthesis, and in exchange, they release fresh oxygen for us to breathe. They also act like giant filters, the trapping dust and other pollutants on their leaves. Ready for 37?
Okay, my next question is, why should we plant trees?
Because they're total powerhouses for the planet. Beyond just cleaning the air, trees prevent soil erosion, provide homes for all sorts of wildlife, and even help cool down cities by providing shade. They're basically a one-stop shop for making the Earth a better place. Ready for 38?
Okay, why is plant important?
Plants are the foundation of almost everything on Earth. Without them, we wouldn't have oxygen to breathe or food to eat, since they're the only ones that can turn sunlight into energy that other animals can actually use. They basically keep the whole food chain from collapsing. Ready for 39?
Okay, why is plant important?
Wait, blood? That's a bit of a pivot from the air topic, but to answer your question, blood is basically the transport system of your body. It carries oxygen from your lungs to your organs, moves nutrients to your cells, and hauls away waste products like carbon dioxide so your body can get rid of them. Was that a sneaky addition to the list, or are we switching topics to biology? 40?
What is air pressure used for?
Air pressure is actually behind a ton of everyday things. It's what makes drinking straws work. You lower the pressure in the straw, and the outside air pressure pushes the liquid up. It's also how vacuum cleaners suck up dirt and how some types of brakes in cars and trains operate. Even your lungs rely on it to pull air in when you breathe. Ready for 41?
Okay, my last question, why do kites fly?
Kites fly because of a combination of air pressure and wind. When the wind hits the surface of the kite at an angle, it creates higher pressure underneath and lower pressure on top. That difference in pressure creates lift, which pushes the kite upward into the sky. Wait, did you say that was your last question? We only hit 41.
Okay, well, this is my short call, Lenny. I hope you like it very, very much. And then Allah Pakistan.